Okay, just tell me I'm the asshole. I need to hear it from someone outside my own head because my brain is currently running a 24/7 film festival of my own stupidity, and I'm the villain in every single showing. I-28F just blew up my entire life. I destroyed my relationship with the best man I've ever known, Dylan 30 million, and for what? For a test so monumentally idiotic that even whispering it to myself in this empty apartment makes me want to crawl out of my own skin. He was perfect. No, he was the kind of good you read about, and I took that goodness and threw it under a bus to see what would happen. He's gone, just gone, and I'm sitting here trying to explain to my own brain that we did this. That I did this, I took the one safe, warm, genuinely good thing in my life and set it on fire. So please be brutal, I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm looking for a reality check. Tell me I'm a monster, tell me I'm a walking red flag. I just need something to break through this fog of regret. Dylan wasn't the fireworks and grand gestures type of love. He was the quiet, steady kind, like a well-built house that you know will stand through any storm. He remembered that I hated cilantro, he'd listened to my rambling work stories without his eyes glazing over, and he had this way of just putting his hand on the small of my back in a crowded room that made the whole world feel manageable. He was safe, and that right there was the goddamn problem. See, my relationship history is a five-alarm dumpster fire, a series of cheating boyfriends and emotionally unavailable men who treated commitment like a contagious disease. I spent 2 years of my life with a man who made me feel like a private investigator in my own relationship. The constant checking of his phone when he was in the shower. The sinking feeling in my stomach when he said he was working late. I'd gotten so used to the chaos, the constant low-level anxiety of waiting for the other shoe to drop. That peace felt unnatural. Alien, so when Dylan came along with his open book honesty and unwavering kindness, my entire nervous system crashed. His stability didn't soothe me, it put me on high alert. My brain, conditioned by years of drama, couldn't process a relationship that didn't require me to be a detective. Every time he did something genuinely sweet, like the time he spent a whole weekend helping me build a ridiculously complicated bookshelf because I'd mentioned wanting one, a toxic little voice in my head would whisper, "It's a trick. It's too good to be true, he's hiding something better than the others did." When he introduced me to his parents after only 6 months, the voice screamed, "It's a trap. He's trying to lock you down so you won't see the real him." The rational part of me, the part that was falling deeply in love with him, knew this was insane. But the traumatized part was louder. It was a constant war inside my own head, and I was losing. I couldn't just accept that I had found someone decent. I had to poke it, prod it, and ultimately break it, just to prove my own twisted theory that nothing good could ever last for me. I was an addict for the familiar pain of disappointment, and Dylan was offering me a healthy life I simply didn't know how to live. And the sickest part, the most twisted, ironic, kick-in-the-teeth part of this whole mess, he gave me the answer key to the test. He told me exactly how to fail, and I did it anyway. It was about 4 months into our relationship. We were lying in bed after midnight, in that comfortable, sleepy space where the real conversations happen. I asked him about his last serious girlfriend, the one before me. He was quiet for a moment, and I thought maybe I'd crossed a line, but then he just sighed, a soft, tired sound. "She cheated on me," he said just like that. There was no anger in his voice, no bitterness. It was the voice of a man stating a fact, like telling me the time. I remember waiting for the rant, for the usual "she was crazy" story. It never came. He just kept looking at the ceiling and said the words I should have had tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. The thing is, it wasn't even the act itself that ended it, it was the trust. Trust, once it's broken, is like a crumpled piece of paper. You can try to smooth it out, but the creases are always there. You can never get it back to what it was. And I just realized I can't be with a person who makes me have to wonder. And what did my stupid, broken brain do with that information? Did a warning bell go off? Of course not. I thought it was mature, honorable. I remember snuggling closer to him, feeling so safe with this man who had such clear, unwavering principles. It wasn't a threat, it wasn't an ultimatum. It was a statement of his core operating system. He handed me the blueprint to his heart, showing me the one thing that would cause a total system failure. And I looked at it, nodded, and then proceeded to use it as kindling. The catalyst for my spectacular implosion arrived in the form of a new project manager named Oliver. He was charming in that slick corporate way, the kind of guy who laughs a little too loud at your jokes and makes a point of complimenting women on their outfits. He wasn't my type, not really, but he was a tool. And the little gremlin in my brain, the one that feeds on insecurity and thrives on chaos, saw him and immediately started drawing up blueprints for my downfall. My twisted logic went like this. If Dylan loved me, if he was invested, he wouldn't be so calm and secure all the time. A man truly in love would show a little fire. A spark of jealousy, a flicker of possessiveness that would prove I was truly his, that the thought of losing me was unbearable. It was a disgusting, toxic 1950s era mindset, and I knew it. But I couldn't shake it. I needed to see a crack in his perfect composure. So the test began. It was subtle at first. At a company happy hour, I made sure to stand next to Oliver. I laughed a little too long at his dumb jokes. I let my hand linger on his arm for a second when making a point. It was all textbook high school level flirting, stuff I could easily deny. When I got home that night, I did the verbal equivalent of leaving a lipstick-stained collar on the counter. "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe Oliver, the new PM," I said, all breezy and casual as I kicked off my shoes. "He's hilarious. He spent 10 minutes telling me about his disastrous attempt to learn pottery." I watched Dylan's face for a reaction, a tightening of the jaw, a questioning look, anything. He just smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "Sounds like you had a good time, I'm glad." And that calm, reasonable, perfectly secure response. It was like throwing gasoline on the fire in my head. "See?" The gremlin whispered, "He doesn't even care," and instead of feeling relieved, I felt a surge of insane determination to try harder. That's when things started to spin out of control. My test was supposed to be a controlled experiment, a little poke to see how he'd react, but I had created a monster I couldn't manage both in Oliver and in myself. Oliver, completely misreading the signals I was intentionally sending, took my performative flirting as genuine interest. He started finding excuses to talk to me at work, sending me funny memes during the day, and then, inevitably, he asked me to lunch. A sane person, a person not actively trying to sabotage their own happiness, would have said, "No thanks, I'm busy," or "I'd rather not, I have a boyfriend." But me, I said yes. I told Dylan I was grabbing a quick bite with some people from the marketing team, the lies sliding off my tongue with terrifying ease. I told myself it was just a work thing, a networking opportunity. But I knew, during that lunch, Oliver told me my laugh was intoxicating, and instead of shutting it down, I felt a pathetic little thrill. That lunch opened the floodgates. The texts started arriving later, 10 p.m., then 11 p.m. I'd be sitting on the sofa next to Dylan, his arm around me while we watched a movie, and I'd feel the vibration in my pocket. I'd angle my body away from him, my heart hammering in my chest as I typed back a non-committal but encouraging reply. I started deleting the message threads before I got home, a little ritual of deception that made my stomach churn with a mixture of guilt and exhilaration. The most insane part was the narrative I was spinning in my own head to justify it. This isn't cheating, it's just talking. Then it became, if Dylan were just a little more passionate, a little more jealous, I wouldn't need this attention from someone else. I was actually blaming him for his trust, for his emotional health. Just last month, while I was deleting a "good morning, beautiful" text from Oliver in the bathroom, Dylan was in the kitchen making my favorite pancakes, talking about a cabin he wanted to rent for us in the fall. He was building a future while I was planting bombs underneath it. There was one night my phone lit up on the nightstand after we'd gone to bed. It was Oliver. "Thinking of you," my blood ran cold. I saw Dylan's eyes flicker towards the screen in the dark. I grabbed the phone so fast I nearly knocked over my water glass, my fingers fumbling to silence it. He didn't say anything, just rolled over. But I knew, with crystal clarity, that I was on the edge of a cliff. A part of me was screaming to turn back, to throw my phone against the wall, to confess everything to Dylan and beg for his forgiveness. But the self-destructive part, the part that had been in control for weeks now, just took another step forward. The end didn't come with a bang. There was no screaming match, no thrown plates, no dramatic confrontation at my office. It came on a Tuesday night with the quiet, devastating finality of a judge's gavel. I came home from work tired and already feeling the familiar pang of guilt. Dylan was sitting on the sofa, not watching TV, not reading, just sitting. The apartment was eerily quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator. "Hey," I said, trying to force a breezy tone that caught in my throat. "Long day." He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at me, and in his eyes, I didn't see the anger I had been subconsciously trying to provoke for weeks. I saw a deep, profound, soul-crushing disappointment. It was 1,000 times worse than rage. Rage would have meant he still had fight left in him. This was the look of someone who had already lost. Then he calmly picked up his phone from the coffee table and held it out to me. My heart stopped, my blood turned to ice. On the screen were screenshots. A long, damning scroll of my text messages with Oliver, not all of them, but the worst ones. There was the lunch invitation. There were the late night thinking of you messages. There was one from me complaining about a minor disagreement Dylan and I had, punctuated with a flirty winking emoji that now looked like a confession of treason. And the last one, the one that made me physically recoil, a text from Oliver saying, "Can't wait to see you at the conference next week. Maybe we can finally get that drink." Kate sent them to me this afternoon, he said, his voice perfectly level, devoid of any emotion. Kate was a mutual friend, someone I'd introduced him to. She was worried. She said she didn't know what to do, that she felt like she was betraying both of us. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. A torrent of excuses, lies, and justifications. It was a joke, it was nothing you don't understand. Died on my tongue, they were useless. The evidence was right there in glowing, undeniable pixels. He wasn't looking for an explanation. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a verdict. He finally looked away from me, staring at the blank TV screen. "I told you, Astrid," he said, and the quietness of his voice was the most terrifying sound I'd ever heard. "I told you I can't be with someone who makes me have to wonder." He paused, then looked back at me, and his eyes were so clear, so resolute, it was like looking at a stranger. "You weren't testing me, you were testing yourself, your own character, your own loyalty, and you failed." That was it. He stood up, walked into our bedroom, and closed the door. I just stood frozen in the living room, his words echoing in the silence. A few minutes later, he came out with a duffel bag and his work backpack. He didn't look at me. He just walked to the front door, put on his shoes, and left. The click of the lock behind him was the loudest sound in the world. The moment the door closed, the paralysis broke. A tidal wave of panic, so raw and primal it felt like I was being ripped in half, washed over me. I lunged for my phone, my fingers shaking so badly I could barely type his name. "Dylan, please come back, we need to talk about this. It's not what it looks like." Delivered, no reply. "I am so sorry, it was a mistake, a stupid, meaningless mistake, it meant nothing." "You mean everything." Delivered, no reply. I tried calling, it rang and rang, then went to voicemail. I called again, straight to voicemail. He had blocked my number. My hands started trembling uncontrollably. I opened WhatsApp, last seen today at 8:14 p.m. I sent a frantic, rambling message begging him to just listen. A single gray tick, blocked, Facebook Messenger, same thing. I had been surgically removed from his digital life. The efficiency of it was terrifying. It wasn't a heated, impulsive act. It was a calm, methodical excision. I didn't exist anymore. The next day, I drove to his office building, a pathetic, desperate cliche. I waited in the lobby, my heart pounding with every person who came through the revolving doors. I finally saw him walking out with a coworker. "Dylan," I called out, starting towards him. He saw me. His face didn't change. There was no anger, no sadness, just a flicker of recognition. Then he turned to his coworker, said something, and they both turned and walked in the opposite direction, disappearing around a corner. He didn't even break his stride. A week of silence followed. A week of me staring at my phone, willing it to light up with his name, rereading our old conversations, torturing myself with the memory of his kindness. Finally, unable to bear the crushing weight of the quiet, I called Kate, the friend who had sent the screenshots. I wasn't even sure what I wanted, an ally, an explanation, absolution. I got a bucket of ice cold reality instead. "What do you want me to say, Astrid?" Her voice was flat, tired. The warmth we used to share was completely gone. I started to cry, a pathetic, hiccuping sound, trying to explain my test, my insecurities, how it was all a stupid mistake that meant nothing. She cut me off. "A mistake? Astrid, you were texting another man behind his back for weeks. You lied to him. That's not a mistake, that's a choice. You made that choice every single day." "But I love him," I sobbed. "I never wanted to hurt him." "Then why did you?" She shot back, and for the first time I heard a spark of anger in her voice. "Why would you choose the one thing, the only thing you knew would destroy him? You know what happened with his ex. He trusted you. He finally let himself trust someone again, and you took that trust and you used it as a weapon against him. You didn't just hurt him, Astrid. You confirmed his deepest fear, that he was right not to trust anyone in the first place." The call ended soon after that. I was still sitting on my sofa, numb, when I decided to do something, anything, to feel closer to him. I started cleaning the apartment, a frantic, mindless activity. I was tidying up the bookshelf we built together when I saw his favorite novel. I picked it up, and a receipt fluttered out from between the pages. It was from a jewelry store. A high-end one downtown. The date on it was from 3 weeks ago. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and typed in the store's name and the item number listed. The search result loaded. It was an engagement ring. A simple, elegant platinum band with a single, perfect sapphire, my birthstone. The same one I had pointed out in a shop window months ago, telling him it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It's been a month now, or maybe 5 weeks. The days just sort of bleed into each other. The apartment is clean, but it feels hollow, like a museum of a life I used to have. His coffee mug is still in the cupboard. His toothbrush is gone. I can't bring myself to move either of them. My life has shrunk to the size of my phone screen. I have a fake Instagram account now. It has a generic name and a picture of a sunset as the profile photo. It's my portal into the world he still lives in, a world I've been kicked out of. His own profile is a ghost town. He hasn't posted anything since he left. No angry quotes, no pictures of him living his best life. Just silence. That silence is somehow louder and more painful than any public declaration would be. So I stalk his friends. I check their stories compulsively, my thumb scrolling through dozens of blurry concert videos and brunch photos looking for a glimpse of him. Most of the time, there's nothing, but every few days I'll see him. A flash of his arm in the background of a group photo, the back of his head at a baseball game. Last week, Kate posted a picture from a barbecue. He was in the background talking to someone. He was smiling, a real, genuine smile. That picture broke me. It felt like a physical blow to the chest. He's moving on, he's healing, he's living. And I'm here in the dark, a digital ghost haunting the edges of his life. Every laugh I see, every moment of joy he experiences without me, is a fresh twist of the knife that I myself put in my own heart. This is my punishment. My self-inflicted, endless social media hell. And the worst part is I know I deserve every second of it.